So I have a question for you. It's a short question, not too wordy, and it requires a simple yes, no answer from you. But I must warn you that your answer to this question has some pretty big implications. So I hope you're ready. Here goes. This is the question. Are you an independent person? Don't answer in haste. Think carefully about this. There's a lot riding on it. Your whole life's at stake. Truly, are you an independent person? More specifically, are you a HIP, an HIP, a healthy independent person, or are you a DIP, a DIP, a dysfunctionally independent person? Independence can be healthy in lots of ways. It helps us to think for ourselves and to know our own mind. It helps us to be true to ourselves and to become who we truly are. Independence helps us to live our own life, not somebody else's. Abraham Maslow, the father of self-actualization theory and also that hierarchy of needs, he encouraged us to be independent of the good opinion of other people. But when we're too independent, it can really be harmful. And in particular, I'm talking now about being overly independent, habitually independent, and also dysfunctionally independent. Too much independence can be your biggest block to greater happiness, to greater success, to greater inspiration, to greater love, and to all good things. So I come from a long line of fiercely independent people. And I'd like to start by telling you about my grandmother on my dad's side of the family. Granny was short in stature, about 5 foot high. She had a big personality. She was the matriarch of the family. She had this really hard exterior, but a very soft center. She loved her children very, very much, and she loved her grandchildren even more. Granny was legally blind for 3 years before any of us found out. She had made the family doctor swear not to tell anybody. Granny made herself entirely self-reliant. She paced every room of the house so she knew where her bearings were at all times. She also memorized where everywhere was. And she also detected the sound of footprints so that she knew who was approaching. Rather worryingly, Granny had learned how to fire up the gas hob on her own and light her own cigarettes. She didn't go out much, and she made her life very, very small. Granny was a VIP. She was a very independent person. And she never liked to ask for help. She certainly didn't want any sympathy. And she always liked to do things her way. I remember when I was a young child, I went to Granny's 50th wedding anniversary. Grandpa Bert was there, but this was Granny's 50th wedding anniversary. And she made a point of going up to the DJ repeatedly and ordering him to play her favorite song. And her favorite song was Frank Sinatra's My Way, which is that's the anthem for all independent people. My dad was a lot like my granny. And my dad joined the Navy when he was 18. He fought in World War II. He served on 2 battleships that were torpedoed and that sunk at sea. He clearly witnessed terrible atrocities, which I didn't know about. I never saw his medals. I don't know if he even kept them. He never talked about the war. I had no idea he was even in the war. You know, when I was studying World War II history at school, around 14 or 15 years old, I had no idea he'd been in the war. He didn't mention it. Dad found a way to make himself entirely self-sufficient. He adopted this stance of me against the world. He was our rock. He was our protector. and he was also alcoholic. And he spent the last 10 years of his life living homeless on and off. And I did everything I could as his son to help him, but everything I did didn't seem to work. My dad was a dip. He was a dysfunctionally independent person. And I learned from my dad that independent people would rather die than ask for help. So then the baton of independence was passed down to me. I didn't have to pick it up, but I chose to. And I'll tell you that it was rather helpful for a while. It helped me to go my own way. It helped me to take the road less traveled, to follow a path with heart. I studied psychology and philosophy. I was the only person in my family to do that. I became a writer, a thinker, a poet. And by the time I was 25, I owned my first home. I had my first clinic. I'd written my first book. I'd made myself entirely self-reliant like Granny, entirely self-sufficient like Dad. I'd really made myself into an island. It was a hospitable island. People were free to come and go, but it was also a lonely island. And it became increasingly clear to me that I was going to have to get off my island if I was going to live a larger life, that if I was going to take my place in the world, and also if I was going to find love. So I made myself into an RIP, a recovering independent person, and I've been in recovery ever since. Now, I do want to emphasize that I think learning to be independent is vital for the first half of our life. And as a parent, there's no greater joy than watching your children walk, stand on their own 2 feet, talk, ask for what they want, dress themselves over and over again in the outfits that they like to wear, sometimes several outfits a day. And also that moment when they walk through the school gate for the first time, all by themselves. And then for us personally, we can look back on our lives and we can see those milestone moments. In particular, when you hold some car keys in your hand and you get in the car and you're all alone and there isn't an adult sitting next to you or a driving instructor next to you, and you've basically got like this quarter tank of petrol, if that's all you can afford, and this open road. It's amazing. And remember also when you got your first bank account and your first paycheck and maybe even your first passport, this wonderful feeling with independence that you can go anywhere you want to go. You can be who you want to be. You can do what you want to do. And it's true, except that you can't do that without other people and without help from other people. We thrive and flourish because of who we are, but also because of the people in our life who see us, who believe in us, who support us, and essentially love us into being. I'd like you to try this exercise with me. Complete this sentence. I am a better person because, and then fill in the blank. I am a better person because, and fill in that blank. Visualize a person, think of somebody, name them, and do it again. Now, if you are dysfunctionally independent, you will have blanked on this. But don't worry. Keep going. And after a while, a name will come and another one, and you'll get to 10 names. And if you do this properly, you'll get to over 100 names, because none of us really get to do life by ourselves. Independence is good for the morning of our life, but we have to make changes for the afternoon of our life and also the evening of our life. Too much independence cuts us off from life. Philosophers, psychologists, theologians, scientists, environmentalists all agree that humanity suffers from a basic wound. And our basic wound is a sense of separation from each other, a fall from grace, a fall from heaven, and also a radical discontinuity from nature. And we suffer from this. And yet, separation is not real. Albert Einstein described separation as an optical delusion and as a trick of perception. We're not separate from each other. Heaven is all around us if we have eyes to see it. We are nature. Nature is us. And yet, when we insist on trying to do life by ourselves, this compounds the sense of separateness. This creates a greater distance between us and heaven. We reenact that fall from grace, and life becomes very, very difficult. We feel more isolated, even alienated, and abandoned. There is no such thing as an independent action. Your body relies on cellular interdependence to be able to do its thing. And we rely on mutual dependency to do our thing. The next time you make yourself a cup of coffee, think for a moment about how that cup of coffee got made. To say, I made myself a cup of coffee, it's a lie. It's not true. To understand how that cup of coffee got made, you'd have to start in a coffee plantation somewhere. And you'd actually have to dive deep into the soil. And you'd have to find some worms. Worms are the gardeners of the universe. The worms are the ones that regenerate the soil and make it possible for coffee trees and coffee bushes to be able to grow. And then after that, we have to think about the butterflies and the bees, and even the solitary bees, because they all help to pollinate Mother Nature. Then we have to think about the coffee farmers. And then we have to think about the people who package and ship the coffee. And then also those fantastic people, the roasters, the baristas, the people who present the coffee to us. And then we also have to think about milk and sugar. And by the time you've finished, honestly, that is a cast of thousands. We don't do anything by ourselves, not really. Not if we're honest. Too much independence forces us to play small. When we're too independent, it deprives us of our divine inheritance as well as our natural inheritance. Philosophers like Thomas Aquinas, they use a Latin phrase, capex universi, and it means capable of the universe. It took a whole universe to create us. It is true that our body is made of star stuff. The calcium in our bones, the iron in our blood, the nitrogen in our DNA, that all comes from deep out of space. And yet, when we insist on trying to do life all by ourselves, we deprive ourselves of heaven's help and also of life support. We may be financially very wealthy, but if we're still being independent, we're not rich, we're poor. We end up like Ebenezer Scrooge in Christmas Carol, solitary as an oyster before his redemption. Too much independence is a defense. When people are very, very independent, it's a sure sign that they essentially are compensating for a wound. When we're independent, we're trying to hide the wound. We're trying to be invulnerable. And we're also trying to find a way to never, ever be hurt again. And so we try and do everything by ourselves. And I really do mean everything by ourselves, including sex. The point being that we deprive ourselves of intimacy and of connection. We identify ourselves as a single person instead of understanding who we really are and our connection with everybody else. And we block that connection that comes with romance, with friendship, togetherness, and also love. Too much independence is the root cause of loneliness. And the World Health Organization understands that loneliness has reached epidemic proportions across our planet. And too much independence is what causes depression, mental health, and also death. Our great work is to move beyond that type of independence, and find a new way to be. And I think it's incumbent on us to be able to do this now more than ever before. When we're too independent, it holds us back and it stunts our growth. We convince ourselves over and over again that we have to keep doing it by ourselves, but that's why we're struggling. We believe that it's wrong to ask for help. We think that asking for help is cheating, that it's illegal, that it's blasphemous somehow. We block the reciprocal flow of giving and receiving. Somebody offers us a cup of coffee and we say, "No, I'm fine, thanks. Let me get you one." We live on the edge of exhaustion because we're working with adrenaline instead of grace. We're unteachable. We can't be coached. We can't be mentored because we're trying to do it all by ourselves. We're lacking in imagination. We have no idea how vast we are and how exciting life could be. But the really good news is that on the other side of independence, there is a universe of inspiration, grace, healing, synchronicities, serendipities, possibilities. It's all there waiting for us. The moment we choose to go beyond independence, we discover a power greater than our ego. We get to have those moments where we experience ourselves to be an instrument for something far greater than ourselves. We also get to serve our higher purpose. And we get to take our place in the beloved community of humans and all other species too. It's time for us to outgrow independence, individually and collectively. It's time for us to graduate from independence into interdependence, to say yes to diversity and unity, and also to choose love over fear. Can we do this? Yes, I believe we can. Why? Because we have each other, and because with God, all things are possible. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.